Okay. And we'll turn these screens on so you guys can see what I'm seeing. Oh my, imagine that. All right, so we've done a lot this week already without thinking about it. I've graded a bunch of stuff. You're like, no, you haven't. I've got a whole stuff that needs to be graded. Well, yeah. I also have 5 classes, so right now. Not the whole semester, right now. I have 10 for the whole semester. Crazy? Yes. Why? You guys need classes. Okay. And you know what? That is really annoying. I'm going to turn that off because I hate that sound. I want to change it to something else. Anyway, moving along. All right, so we went over how to do the template the other day. We also talked about chapter 3, where we talked about orthographic views. So things like front, top, right side, rear, bottom, see, front, rear, top, bottom, left, right side. And then how to pick which views are which. So chapter 3, you've got some worksheets that are quizzes. If you need the hard copies of those quizzes, I can make that happen. If you just, if you need help with anything, you're not sure why you can't figure out which one's the front view, remember, the front view always has something above it, possibly below it, to each side, or at least to one side or the other, but it usually will have something above it too. That's a good indication of what the front view is. Now, from the other day, does anybody remember there are 2 things that makes a front view? How do you pick the correct front view?
Least amount of hidden lines.
And the least hidden detail.
Okay, least amount of hidden lines, and what else did you say?
The longest side.
Yeah, the longest line on the base of the object. So if you look at the object, how it sits, so you got this piggy bank here. It's not really a bank. It's a scan of a bank. If I'd actually made it hollow, it would have been really cool. Then I could have drilled a hole in it and made it into a bank. But anyway, so if I was looking at this, the front of the pig is not really the front of the object because it doesn't have the longest dimension as this thing sits, right? So as it sits on its little feet, the side of what I would consider the side of the object would be what I would use for my front view. So it doesn't matter what you consider that side of that object, like the front of a car. That's narrower than the side of a car. Otherwise, we'd be driving down the road and everything's, 20 feet wide. That doesn't work, right? So we would look at the side, like the driver's side or the passenger side, and we'd say, hey, that's the front view that I'm going to use. And then all my other views are based off of that view. So longest dimension, like Aaron and Kyle were saying, and least amount of hidden lines or hidden features. What does a hidden line look like? Uh-oh. Yeah, we went over that too, line types. So hidden lines are dashes, just a whole bunch of dashes, right? And if you were worried about how thick or thin they are, they're thin. We talked about, I sure am. I was wondering if you're ever going to get up. Anyway, that was my daughter. So let's see. But anyway, you got center lines, phantom lines, hidden lines. Those were the 3 major lines that were going to be on our template. Those are your major lines. Remember we talked about who's on first, who's important. Cutting plane line takes the bait for, or takes the prize for top dog. And if it was a mouse, I guess it would take the bait. But anyway, I don't know. I guess I was thinking about my cool mouse that I printed off. It looks like cheese. Anyway, so they give us these kits with these bamboo printers, and so you can print cool stuff. Anyway, so moving along, we talked about line types. We talked about then we went in and we talked about layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. I don't like onions very much. Nobody likes onions. Everybody likes parfaits, right? Yeah, I do. I think parfaits are much better. Yes. Someday people will not understand and go, R.I.P. Shrek. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the second half of the lecture the other day, I went over how to make the template. I made some strategic changes to make things work better. So if you watch my videos that I have on the assignment, some of the things have been changed to protect the innocent in the updated lecture that I had the other day. Like, how do we make sure that our dimension stuff shows up correctly? Well, first of all, what we have to do is I have to change tactics. I have to go in, instead of making a new dimension style for the metric, I need to take one of the existing ones and turn it into metric. And I show you how to do that on the lecture video. So at some point, I even have it on YouTube now. So at some point, I'm going to take that video and figure out how to edit it so that it is better, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. And I don't know if I can make it better or not. But I thought it turned out pretty well. I was pretty happy with how I was able to go through the whole thing in one. I don't know. It went really smoothly. So now I'm going to have to turn my phone down. Sorry. Anyway. So do you guys have any questions, I guess, so far on what we're doing? So when you turn in, and if you turned in a template already and it has, you didn't do it, you did it like the video, that's fine. But at some point you're going to have to fit, and you may have already turned in, like I got one guy, and I know I have a couple of people, especially online, they've already turned in chapter 4, chapter 5, 6, 8. You know, they're waiting for me to grade stuff so they can figure out what they need to do. Now, that's the only bad thing about zipping on through it is, what if you're not doing it exactly right? And then if I'm able to catch up on grading, which I'm going to work on today, try to get caught up on grading, and hopefully I can catch some of those mistakes that you might have made. Some people were having issues, I don't know if I mentioned it the other day, with the difference between absolute and relative coordinates. Just don't ever start at 0, 0 and you'll be good. I mean, you can start at 0, 0, but don't think about that you have to start at 0, 0. You know, just think about, I don't give a crap where I am because I'm somewhere in space. But I know where I want to go. Okay? I know how far it is over to Kaylee. I know how far it is over to Violet. And if I type in that coordinate, x, comma, y, I can get there from here. Those are relative coordinates. I don't have to know that I'm at 40, comma, 30 and that Kaylee's at, I don't know, 45, comma, 60. I had to think on a coordinate. That's pretty, if you have to think that hard on a coordinate, you have to figure it out. Why does it matter? I know how long the line is, and I know how to get there. Or if I know the angle, then I can use a polar coordinate, which, what is the symbol that you should put in front of any relative coordinate? Hashtag. Who came up with that? Hashtag. Hashtag is the @ symbol, right? Yeah. So, hashtag. So I should start saying, hashtag 4, 3. Nah. At symbol. So use your at symbol. If you'll notice, remember we talked about dynamic. If dynamic is on, everything is relative except for the first point. The first point is always absolute no matter what. So if you tell your line command that you want to start at 5, 5, it will go to 5, 5 on the grid, and then everything after that can be relative if dynamic is on. And other cool things that show up because of dynamic being on are there's stuff shows up here at your mouse, at your tooltip is what we call it. Where your mouse, the little crosshairs on the screen, that where your mouse is, that's the other thing. So, train of thought just derailed. So, where am I going with that? I hate it when the train derails. Oh well, I have to find a siding or something. Maybe you guys ever watched Thomas the Train? Wasn't it really creepy? Well, wasn't it goofy whenever they went to the animated faces? That just completely ruined it for me. I like the old school stop motion. That's really awesome. Anyway, yeah, and that's the cool thing about having kids. So when they're really little, you can watch cartoons and cool shows that you really like, and not lose your man card over it. I don't care. It's fine. You'll also carry a pink diaper bag. Even if you said you wouldn't, you will. You'll also carry a purse and other things if you're a good husband and dad. So anyway. All right. Like I said, complete train derailment. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway. So relative coordinates. We were talking about dynamic. So, and I'm really not sure where I was going with that now. But anyway, as long as you understand that dynamic has to be on, not showing up down there, that doesn't mean anything. That, you remember we talked about if you hit the three lines over here. So this is kind of a review, I guess. And I'm not going to talk very long because I don't want to take up too much time. But you remember if you hit the little 3 lines over there in the bottom right next to your status bar, that's that thing on the bottom. Oh, I know where I was going with this. So no matter what, like when dynamic is on, and let's say you type in line, and then you go 5, 5, and then you type in 5, 4 from this 5, 5 location. So does that mean it goes to the absolute point of 5, 4, or does it go over 5 and up 5 from where I'm at? Well, if dynamic is on, it's relative, even if I don't put the at symbol. But if you look down in, and I think this is pretty cool, if you were to look down in here, whenever you actually do the command, so like if you go here, I'm just going to do a new drawing. I should have just done it. So anyway, if you go and do line, and you pick a starting point, right? So I pick a starting point, and then I say 5, 5, 7, 3, negative. No, I don't want to do that. 0, negative 6. Go down, and then I'm just going to close it. I don't know what that is. All right, now, if you'll look down here, I didn't type in at. It put the at symbol on there for me. That's pretty cool, I think. I honestly hadn't noticed that till I was helping BJ the other day, and I was like, well, that's cool. Because see, what we did is we did a screenshot of his thing right there and stuck it over on the other screen so that we could type up our points. I thought that was pretty neat. So EJ helped me figure some stuff out that I hadn't paid attention to. So it says specify first point. Well, I just picked a point, right? Or did I type in 5, 5? I don't remember. So specify first point, specify next point, specify next point. Well, anyway. But just remember that your first point is always absolute, or it's supposed to be absolute, no matter what. So if I say that I want to draw a circle and 0, 0, or here, let's draw a line. And if I don't pick and I just type in, let's see, 5, 5. Yeah, see, I picked a spot first. Okay, just making sure. So I pick a spot, or I type in 5, 5, and then it says the next point. All right, well then if I type in 5, 5, then it puts an @ symbol in front of it for me, down there at the bottom. Do you know why I try to make you understand and have you put in that @ symbol when you type in a coordinate so that it'll help you remember that it's supposed to be relative? Okay, now the most important coordinates are actually polar coordinates. Why is that? Well, what if you have a circle and I need to draw a line that's tangent to this, but it goes down at, 10 degrees. Okay? All right, well, I'm going to have to do a polar one for sure. So if I go to line, and then remember you can shift right click and pick tangent, or you can type it in. TAN, enter, is the shortcut for tangent. Now, the reason that I do that specifically is tangent, perpendicular, parallel. Those are all ones that I only want it to look specifically for that. Oh, snap. Why? Because if you turn all of them on, it may not give you the one that you want. Whereas if you type it in and say, look, I only want the endpoint, I only want the center, I only want the intersection, I only want the tangent, by typing it in or shift right clicking, it will only look for that object snap. So I can go tangent to here. Now, polar's not working for me now, is it? I don't have any vertical, horizontal, or any angled lines. Well, I can do my little thing with the @ If I put the @ symbol in, it goes, oh, hey, he's going to type me in a relative coordinate. And there's a good possibility, especially if I'd done previous ones, if I'd done some, polar coordinates previous to this, it might automatically put in, like it's looking for polar. But if I do the @ symbol, it says, oh, he wants to do relative. Okay, cool. And then let's say I know the distance, or if I don't know the distance, well, let's say it's 6. And then you do shift, comma. So instead of going like X, Y, we do shift, comma, which gives us the angle symbol. And then we figure out what direction we're going to go. So I wanted to go down 10 degrees over going towards the right. So if I wanted to do that, that's either a -10, because I can go negative for my angle. That's pretty easy. Or I could put in what? What's the other number I could use that would be the same angle? If you were starting at 0 and you go all the way around, 90, 180, 270 over to back to 360, so it's 360 minus 10, right? So it'd be 350. So I could type in 350 also, and it would be correct. Something didn't work. Did I not do something right? Try this again. So I typed in a distance, typed in 6. I hit shift back. There we go. Now it's looking, I must have waited too long. Anyway, now it's looking for the angle. And like I said, I could go -10, or I could type in 350 and it would be the same thing. And so now I've got that line right there. So in chapter 2, you had to draw the that frog thing, and it was down 17 degrees. And that's why I use this example every time to help people understand that's how you draw it. So make sure you guys are using your object snaps. Now, you're not going to have to write down the coordinates anymore, just those first 3. That's all. I just want you to understand the coordinates, and after we beat that dead horse, then we move on. Okay, do you guys have any questions? That's kind of review. Okay.
I got one question here.
You got questions?
To do the chamfer on that one.
On the fish key?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you,
Okay, so it says it's 2 by 45, right? So a 45 degree has the same legs. They're both the same. So you can either use distance or you can use the angle option, but you have to pick one of those to set that distance on the chamfer command. It's just like on the fillet command. When you go into fillet, the first thing you got to do is say, oh, wait, what's the radius? Have I set a radius yet? Because if you haven't, it's automatically defaults to 0. The same thing for chamfer. You just have to pick, do you want to use distance or do you want to use angle? Because what it'll do is it'll ask you on angle for the distance first and then the angle. Now, if it's not a 45-degree angle, then you have to think about which direction the 30 or the 60 degrees is supposed to go. That's the other typical angle that's used. But you have to think about which way, is it a horizontal or is it a vertical angle? With the 45, who cares? You just pick whichever line first and go. Which is why I normally use distance if it says 45. And sometimes it'll say 2 space x space 2, which is 2 by 2. So where the x is tells you what it is. If it says 2x, that's 2 of them, 2 times. But if there's a space, then it's a distance size. Does that help? Yeah. So you just go into chamfer, then you click on distance or type in DIST, or you can type in angle or click on the little angle. I like to click down in your
I just
command line.
Yeah, you can click it right
Yeah,
there.
I just like clicking. I'm like, why type it in when I can click on it right there? Boom.
Yeah,
So, I go back and forth. It depends on what I'm doing. I'll type things in. I try to use the space bar for enter and all that kind of stuff. Okay, those are good questions. Any other questions? Okay. Well.
Yes, I have a question. I have a question.
Yes.
Can you show how to update the fields again
Fields?
in the fields? Yeah, that. So can you show how
Update the
to
fields on your.
yes,
Yeah,
on the
no
title
problem.
block? Can you show how to update
All right,
those again?
so, yeah, sure. So when you guys do a drawing from now on, so like when you do chapter 4 and you're doing your views, you're laying them out. And so this is my template. And it doesn't have the right date or anything on there yet. Well, when you save it the first time, so you save it, it goes to save as. I need to go up there. Let's just click on documents. Or we'll click on it. Oh, whatever. Anyway, that works. All right. So, and I'll just call this one test. Yeah, so you name your drawing, and apparently I already have one, so we'll do that. All right. So that fixed this, but it didn't update the date. So now what? Okay. So what you do is you go over to where it says Insert, and then you come over here to Update Fields, and then you put a window by just picking. I usually just do a left to right, pick, let go, pull your window over, pick again, into the command line. And it doesn't matter if you pick extra stuff, you just pick things. So then you hit your space bar or hit enter, and it should update the date. Like it updated it to the 18th. For some reason, date does not like to update automatically. I don't know why. Sometimes it will when you save, sometimes it won't. So there you go. How to update fields. That's another good question. Do you have anything else there online, guys, peoples that are online? Okay. Well, so like I said, I just wanted to kind of hit a little rewind, review, field any questions, but mostly I want to give you time to work today. Yes.
One more question.
Yep.
Like how you just like when you made the circle, when you had your line that went into the circle.
Mm-hmm.
Can you run that back? Like how you how you use the snap, snap or whatever?
Okay. So there's two ways to access Object Snap. Well, three, if you will. You have the automatic one, right? Because like we have automatic ones down here in the bottom in your status bar.
Yep.
So you make sure that you have Object Snapped on so that it looks like it's lit up. If you click on the little arrow next to it, you get a list. And like I said the other day, I like to use endpoint, midpoint, center, geometric center. That one's actually kind of handy.
Where do you see the arrow next to it?
It should be on the right-hand side of the little square with the little square. Down there in your status bar in the bottom here. You should have it. That's a defaulted something, default. So it should.
Okay, I got you. And it says endpoint, midpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have endpoint, midpoint, center, geometric center. I go between turning quadrant off and on. I'll be honest with you, I've just kind of started leaving that one on because it's pretty handy. Like when you draw that fish key one that has the ellipse, instead of having to figure out where the quadrant is, because it's the middle of that bottom of the ellipse and the top of the ellipse where you got to draw those circles to make that, Spider-Man or Batman looking batarang, and then the thing that kind of looks like lungs. Well, if you have quadrant on, it hooks on right to it. So that one's kind of handy too. Occasionally, if I need to use the node command, I'll turn that one off and on, but I don't use it very often. Sometimes I'll actually just type that one in to use it, which is your other option, or you can shift right click, which I'll show you. But anyway, the other ones that I have on are intersection, extension, and apparent intersection. You're like, why do those matter? Okay, well, I'll show you why those matter. So if I'm drawing a line, I want to draw a line. We'll go draw. Now, if I pick on the end of this line here, and it's at an angle. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this one. I don't think this one's at an angle that's normal. So let me grab that, and let's see. If I pull this down, I drew it at 40. How did I draw it at 45? I want one that's not at a 45. Is this one at a 45? Is this one at some lovely angle that's equal? Oh, look. It says extension. So I'm extending that. I'm parallel with that line. I'm lined up perfectly with that line from the end of it, and it says extension. So that's what happens when you turn on the object snap that says extension. Now, if you were to, so let's see, apparent intersection, where's a good one for that? So if I were to do a line here, and then it says, oh, well, actually, I haven't even picked. But like, let's say I wanted to figure out where this intersects. Oh, it intersects right there. Okay, that's cool. Or, like you were asking, if I do shift right click, that pulls up this menu for you for object snaps. Now, I don't know anywhere else you can find this one up here at the top that says mid between 2 points. That one's kind of cool. Nobody ever showed this to me in the, at the time, 16 years that I've been using AutoCAD. Nobody ever bothered to show me that there was a shift right click option. I don't know when it came into existence. If it came in 2000, it must have been after I was out of school and I was teaching, but I didn't learn that until I'd already gone to the official Autodesk University and all that, and they never showed me there either. And I'm like, I go to a community college somewhere, and they're like, hey, yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me? This has been there since when? And nobody ever showed me. So anyway, I make a big deal out of it because I think it's cool. And that mid between points, I don't know where else you can find that. And I've actually used that before. Instead of having to draw a line to figure out where the middle between these 2 points is, I can find it. Anyway, moving along. So if I were to pick tangent, and I pick this right here, then, you know, I can obviously go down here and do endpoint. I don't know what I was trying to do. But, you know, if I go there to that endpoint, well then, like, there's an extension of that line. But what if I wanted to, you know, how do I figure out, like, I can go the middle of this one. Let's see. Trying to think of, oh, I know how to, never mind. Okay, here's how we can do it. So an apparent intersection. So what if I go to line and I pick on this guy, right? So I have an extension, but I want it to be able to run into this guy right here. So if I hover over it and, hover over it, now I can do this where they will line up. Like I could even do an extension. Come on, back up. See? So I could actually draw a line that extends this line, but also would intersect that other line. And that's what a parent intersection does. So when you get these little green lines, it helps you to find things that you don't have to draw extra lines for. You know, you don't have to draw construction geometry for. But anytime that you want to use things like, let's say I pick that, and then I say, you know what, I want to, like I said, tangent is T-A-N, enter, and then I can draw a line that's tangent here. If I wanted to draw a line that's perpendicular, I can type in P-E-R, and I can draw a line that's perpendicular to this line. And see, it'll draw it out there. Okay. I can also do shift right click, do the same thing. Perpendicular to what line? Let's do perpendicular to this line. There's that. So that's why I made a big deal out of on like the 4th or 5th one, you have to have perpendicular, not midpoint. They're really close together. So what I do is I click on the line to see if you drew it to the midpoint or if you drew it perpendicular. If it's not going to the midpoint, I know you did it correctly. And on the tangents, I can look at it, I can see, does it go inside of the circle? Is it going to the quadrants accidentally? What is it doing? I can tell if it's tangent or not. There's a reason we do these is to make it accurate. And that's how you can do it. You can type it in, shift right click. I've started using shift right click a lot just because it's pretty simple. I just have to remember what I'm looking for and go, oh, yep, there it is. Sometimes it takes me a minute. But you know, if you're used to doing it and doing it and doing it, then boom, there you go. So, yeah, so that's good questions. All right, so that's object snaps. Make sure you use them. You can type them in. if you want them specific, or you can shift right click to pick specific ones, or you've got your automatic ones. So, all right. Any other good questions? These are all good questions. Very good. I appreciate it when you ask questions. Evan probably thinks I'm mad at him all the time because, oh, I got to stop my lecture. No, that's fine. That's why you're here. You got to ask questions. You want to learn. That's fine. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So I'm going to let you guys work. I may come around and harass you and see if you're doing things right. It's not because I think you're going to do things wrong. I just want to make sure you're okay. Because you may not speak up and say, hey man, I don't understand. Because that's how people are. I've been doing this for a while. I know people. Sort of. Sometimes. Sometimes I can figure it out. Anyway, that's all I got. Like I said, for those of you out there online, I'm going to turn off my mic. Either raise the hand or something. Yeah, raise the hand works. Or type me a message, whatever works for you. But I'm going to turn my mic off, put the record and stuff. But you know, you're welcome to work on stuff there, or you know, I'm going to grade. Like I said, if you have questions, just let me know. All right, so that's all.